On the eastern coast of Canada lies the unspoiled beauty of Prince Edward Island. For hundreds of years, the local
phone call from a fellow fishery officer, Sheldon Bryan, advising that he had received a report that there was apparently what was described to me as whales, or a whale, stranded at or near Cove Head Harbor.
Florian immediately went to investigate.
I just couldn't believe my eyes when I approached the entrance to the harbor there, and I looked out, and all I could see was this mass configuration of animals or mammals of some shape or description on the shore. So I walked down to the shoreline as close as I could get to the whales, and I realized by counting that there wasn't one. I was positive of 5 at least, and possibly a 6th.
The lungs can fill up with blood, pools of blood. The other danger is that just the combination of the sun and the wind can make them so hot that they cook to death.
Whales can only live a certain period of time exposed and beached on the shore as such. It's hours, it's not days that we were dealing with here. I approached a couple of fishermen, Linus Meisner and Fred Morrison, who both fish from Cove Head Harbor, and I said, the only chance I see of saving them is to secure a rope to their tails and see if we can make an effort to pull them off. Basically, that's the only approach I have open. In the harbor, he jumped down in his boat and he threw out a brand new coil of 3/4 inch nylon rope. He said, here, use it. It's almost impossible to break it.
Local diver John McLeod also said he'd help. He and some other divers took on the difficult job of tying the rope to the whales.
Yeah, if you think it's safe, we'll go with it. If you feel there's any danger, it's it. We're not going to take any chances or risk any lives.
I love nature. I do a lot of diving and enjoy what is in the water. So when you're confronted with one of the largest mammals in the world, we said to ourselves, I'm sure everyone felt the same, is that we have a very important job here.
It would be absolutely impossible for them to try and lift the whales, or to put a harness around them, or to use a helicopter or anything like that. I mean, you're looking at something that's 58 tons, you know, and that's a very, very large animal.
There was quite a surf running in, and they were stranded on a sandbar. There was probably 3 to 4 feet of the whale embedded in the sand, being that the surf had washed it out. So you had to be very careful that you didn't get in between the whale and this hollow that they dug, because it would just roll over and squish you. They were thrashing their tails, and if you ever hit with one of the tails, it would just be like a fly being hit with the fly swatter. You would just be instantly killed.
And would not cut into their flesh. The helicopter pilot was then going to carry the rope to the boat.
And one of you guys is going to hook it up to the cargo hook. I'm going to hover over you, and one of you guys is going to hook me up. And then I'm going to try and take the rope out to the boat.
We discussed their plan of approach, which was to go out and walk up on each side of the whale about 8 to 10 feet from the whale, and put the rope behind the tail of the whale, pull it back under, and secure it, whereby they would not come in direct contact with the whale so as to disturb them or make them upset.
Downwash might distress the whales. A man on a jet ski took the other end of the rope out to the fishing boat.
The securing of the whales went very well. The divers followed the instructions that were given. They had the straps in place, and the boats were in place. Everything was a go.
The biggest risk, I think, was to keep the boats out in deep enough water. There was quite a current going east that day. The boats are sliding down shore, almost faster than we could keep them up the shore to get a decent pull on them. That was my biggest worry, is we're going to be aground.
The whale started to thrash its tail frantically, and we backed out of the way and said, oh, here we go.
We made 3 attempts, and all 3 attempts failed. There was a lot of comment going around the wharf, well, you're wasting your time, it's impossible, you know, there's no way you're ever going to get these whales free. But I was determined, and I can tell you the fishermen were more determined, and the divers were equally as determined. And we requested that we be given one more chance to try it.
We just looked at one another and said, it's never been done. Well, what's the harm? They're dying. Whatever we try will be something. We just can't do nothing.
As the day went on, they were being probably dehydrated. They were on their sides. The surf was washing into their blowhole. With
The 2-inch hawser. And if that doesn't pull them off...
They tied both boats together, the stern of one to the bow of the other. They would just keep enough pressure, like they would not made lunges with the rope, they would just keep a nice steady pressure.
Everything was just shaking aboard the boat, and he was flipping and flapping around there, and he must have dug a bigger hole.
A sudden snap could break the tail, damage the vertebrae of the whale. So it was just a steady, consistent pull with an increase of the throttle as we went along. I jumped and shouted, but my shout was nothing as to the 7,000 people that were on the shore. We could hear it out in the boat. They were just loud acclaim that, hooray, that was it.
The only time I was a little bit worried when we towed the first whale off, that I didn't know how he was going to act. He could have smashed the boat or something, once we got him in the deep water where he could work.
Two or three attempts, like towing them at different angles. We were trying to rescue the whales, not in any means try to hurt them, for sure.
By 9 p.m., they managed to pull the last living whale free. Only one had died before they could rescue it.
To our satisfaction, we did get 5 off. All 5 were alive when we released them. It was just something inside that really hit me emotionally, that you wanted to cry with joy, not sadness, but you just wanted to express yourself by crying. You felt so good. And when Linus Meisner gave me that high five going by in his boat that night, I don't think I've ever experienced it.
I guess we did risk our lives. At that time, we probably didn't think we actually were, but it was a very fulfilling feeling to see them being pulled out into deeper water.
If we hadn't succeeded, I don't know how it would have felt, but what the heck, we did succeed. And that feeling was there, and I still have it, and I'm going to have it until the day they put me down under.
Next.
1 minute they're there, next minute they're not.